Welcome back to Pastor Plex Podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Plex, and joining me today is someone I'm very excited about. Matthew, I want you to give us Matt.
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah. My wife calls me Matthew, and it's a term of endearment, or I'm in trouble. So Matt's the way to go.
All right. So tell us who you are. Tell us where you came from. Tell us just the basics of how you came to the church. And then I want to get into, because once I heard your, I don't know, real true story, whole biography.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, I'll do the abridged version. So I've been a Christian for 15 years now. Been with my wife since high school sweethearts.
Nice.
Got 2 kids. Jackson, he's 6, and Peyton is 8 years old. And we've been in Texas since 2019. We moved here from Seattle.
That's wild. Yeah. Okay. And your wife's Brittany.
Yes, and Brittany Badgley.
And she's so great. So Matt, the thing that struck me about your life is, and I want you, share as much as you feel comfortable. You shared even this morning that you were conceived in rape.
Yes.
So that to me was mind blowing, because usually what people say in an argument for abortion is, what about somebody who rapes someone and then they should, or that mom should have the ability to terminate that pregnancy. No, so can you give us the background of your story, and let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah. So that's something I've thought about a lot, as it's been really prevalent in our culture. And I've only seen one example online where someone's actually talked about their story and how they were conceived through rape. So I would imagine it's probably more of a rare thing. But
I think I saw it on a Charlie Kirk video of all things.
Yeah. But that's my story. That's where my relationship with Christ starts, believe it or not.
Okay. Yeah.
It's pretty wild to think that, but I think everything happens for a reason. I really do, and that's a story that God gave me. So it goes like this. My mom, she struggled with drug addiction her entire life, and so she told me that she was in a rehab clinic and she met this man, and that man ended up being my biological father. And they became really good friends. And while they were in the rehab clinic, they had agreed that when he got out, he would come pick her up once her date ended. She was going to be there a little bit longer than him. And so they made this arrangement. She gets out and she meets him. She gets in his car and they start driving, and she realizes that he's high on something. She doesn't know what, but he starts going off and he's talking about this plan that he has to go rob this guy, and how he's going to use her to sleep with him. And while that's happening, he's going to sneak in and steal all this stuff, and they're going to make out, with all this money. And he had this whole scheme planned. And she's now sober, and she's thinking, what the heck are you talking about? I'm not going to do that. And so she tells him, no, I'm not doing that. And he said to her, well, you're going to pay for this ride one way or another. And she told me that he pulled over and he raped her and he left her on the side of the road. Yeah, it's wild. And so she is going, what do I do? She finds out later that she is pregnant with me, and her first thought was abortion. I think that's probably anybody's first thought in that situation. And my mom is, at least at that time, I did not think she was a strong Christian. However, my grandma is like a hardcore Catholic.
Right.
So thank God for the Catholic grandmas that are out there, because she told my mom, you cannot have an abortion. That baby is a gift to you, and it does not matter how he was conceived. And so she then thought, okay, well, I'm not going to have an abortion. Maybe I'll give him up for adoption. And it just so happened that there was a family friend of ours that she knew. He was a doctor. The wife was a lawyer. It would have been a great setup. And they wanted to adopt. At the last second, she decided not to go that route. She gave birth to me and then decided to keep me. The reason why I say my story with God starts there is because she named me Matthew, which means gift from God. And she prayed before she gave birth to me. She said, God, this boy's not going to have a father, and I need you to watch over him and protect him and be his heavenly father.
Wow.
And so that's where it started.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's out of drug rehab. She gets pregnant with you. 9 months later, you're born. Is she drug free at that point, or does that?
Great question. So yes, it's wild. So she was sober, but typically when you get on drugs, it's not because you just wake up someday and you're like, I'm going to get on drugs. It's because you're around bad association, right? And so when she was 14, she told me that she was around bad association. A guy that she was babysitting for came home one day, he had drugs, gave it to her. That's how she got hooked on methamphetamines, very hardcore drug. And so she was sober when she had me, thank God. But being around that association, now she's a single mom. She's got no one to help raise this kid. What do? She starts dealing drugs. She starts getting into trafficking. And so
Wait, trafficking. You mean drug trafficking?
From what I understand, it was drug trafficking, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was any sort of trafficking.
Like human trafficking?
Yes, but drug trafficking for sure.
Okay.
And when I say human trafficking, I don't mean that she was
like just
trafficking other humans, but she might have been prostituting herself. I don't know that for a fact, but she was selling drugs nonetheless. That's what she got caught for. So she ends up actually going to prison when I was about 2 or 3 years old. And my grandparents took me in. So she went to prison for, I think it was about 1, maybe 2 years. Yeah. And so, wow. So yeah, my grandparents took me in at that point. We were living, it was kind of a crazy setup. If anyone's ever seen The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, it's like this old school Disney show where these kids grow up in this really swanky 5-star hotel. My grandparents were managing a 1-star motel in Reno, Nevada. That's where I was born. That's where I was raised until I was 10. And so they were managing this, this motel that was right off of 4th Street, which is where you go to find hookers and drugs in Reno. And my grandparents, God bless them, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be who I am today. They were a godsend in my life. And so they took me in, and I, for a period of my childhood until my mom got out of prison, I was living in a motel, and it was a really crazy cool kind of a situation, despite it being, not a good environment in terms of the quality of the hotel, but cool in terms of being with my grandparents, being in a loving situation, and just getting to experience something most kids don't get to experience.
Okay, so your mom's comes back really into your life. You move in with her at 10?
So she gets out of prison, and she moves into the motel, and it got okay for a while. Things get bad later. She moves in this motel, and I remember being in there with her. It's a motel. You can picture it in your head. In a place that you'd probably go sleep with a prostitute, do drugs. You're there one night. You're not making reservations for this place. So this is where I'm living with her, just me and her. And then my
same room, or you in
same room. It's one room and a bathroom. That's it. Okay, one bed. And my stepdad, he comes into the picture at this point.
Okay.
I think right before she had gone off to prison, they had made a connection, and they must have been talking through prison because he comes into the picture as soon as she gets out. So now he's living in this motel with us.
All three in the same room.
Yes, and it was kind of a traumatic experience to start, just because I remember, like, my earliest memories is of them having sex right behind me. I'm 3 years old, and that's what I remember. And I was told, this guy's your dad. And I didn't find out till I was 10 that he wasn't. And for a period of time, he was just this dad in my life. He was kind of absent in a way. He worked nights. We ended up getting out of that motel situation. He got us into an apartment. And it was like, hallelujah, we're living in an apartment now. This is incredible. This is amazing.
You're living big.
Yeah, we're living big.
Did your motel have a pool?
It did have a pool, but the pool had a crack in it. There's no water in it. So it was just concrete.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're living in the apartment, upscale. Still see your grandparents?
Yeah, I would still see my grandparents, but we moved across town. So we were living in downtown Reno. We moved to Stead, which I recently visited last summer, and I looked it up on livability, and it's the worst place you could possibly live in the Reno area. So that's where we moved.
Okay, so does your mom stick it out marriage-wise with the new dad?
So yes, things were okay. They were both sober until I was about 7, maybe 8 years old, right around there. And that's when things started going way south. They had my my little sister. She was 5 years younger than me. That was their biological kid together. Right. This whole time, again, I'm thinking this is my real father. And so the story goes like this, that one day his brother shows up into town. He comes to visit from Iowa, and my stepdad's working nights. And so I had asked my mom, how did you guys get back on drugs? What happened? And she told me that when this uncle came to visit, he brought some methamphetamines, and they were sitting there one night after we're in bed, and he goes, hey, if you take this, you can stay up all night long and hang out with me, because my stepdad was working nights and he was tired. And that's a great idea. Let's do that, Mm-hmm. And so if you're a recovering addict and someone puts that right in front of you, temptation is great. And they took that bait, and it was like overnight things got awful. Things got terrible.
All right. So how did he tell you that he wasn't your biological dad?
He never did. I didn't find out till I was 10. So once the drugs started happening, everything started to unravel in the house. It was constant fighting every single day. Lots of abuse from my stepdad to my mom and to myself. And one day, my mom and my stepdad got in a big fight physically and ended up in the front lawn. Yeah. And so the neighbors call the cops. The cops come and arrest the stepdad, and he goes off to jail for, I think, about 6-7 months. So I'm I was 9 years old at this time, in 4th grade. And while he's in jail, we don't have any income. My mom wasn't working, and all she cares about right now is how to get her next fix. I remember finding needles in our house. It was wild. We had no power in the house. There's no water for 6-7 months. And what ends up happening is right before my
the grandparents? Were they?
So they're in Washington right now. They're living up in Seattle. They moved. I don't remember exactly how old I was when they moved, but they were up in Seattle by this point. That's where they're from originally. Reno was just like a place they were at temporarily. Seattle was where the family was from.
Okay, so you're living without power.
Yeah.
You're, I don't know. Are you the smelly kid at school at this point, I guess?
Absolutely. I had one pair of pants. I remember my mom, I told her I need clothes for school. And she gave me $20. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? I have one pair of good jeans. That's it. And at the same time, I'm still trying to be a kid that's trying to be cool.
So were you parenting your mom as like an 8-year-old?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I was taking care of my little sister, and I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was doing everything. I remember I would cook food in our backyard using the barbecue because we didn't have any power. And the food that we were eating was given to us by the neighbor who was also on drugs, but he would go to the store, and all of their perishable items that they were throwing out, he would get those, and then he would bring them to us. So we were eating stuff that was expired.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So like eventually you don't die. Did you ever see any gunfights or anything like that with your mom and the drug world?
No, there were threats. I remember one time they pulled up to get drugs, and my sister and I were waiting in the car. And all I remember is seeing my stepdad do like this kung fu like front kick to knock it wasn't a gun, it was a knife out of somebody's hand. And then there was another time where a guy threatened to come to our house and shoot us because it was drug related.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so eventually you survive, you make it to high school, right? Or like what, you're still with you're now a teenager, still living in the.
So let me go back to this house instead. Everything came to a climax in that house. Dad's again in jail. Mom's focused on drugs. She's got a boyfriend now at this time. What ends up happening
is... Did he officially adopt you?
No, he never adopted me.
So
my last name's Badgley. That's the same last name as my grandpa.
Got it. Okay.
So I took his last name, and growing up, I just thought this is normal. You just get to choose what your last name is. It doesn't have to match your dad. Yeah. So I'm in this house, no power, and we're using this fireplace that my stepdad had made right before he went to jail. And it was like a potbelly stove, and it was a metal chimney that went to the roof. And so I fall asleep that night. It's very cold in the wintertime in Reno, and I'm next to my baby sister. She was 4 at the time. And I wake up, and there's fire across the ceiling. And I wake up in a panic. I look at the couch. There's some random guy. He's strung out on drugs. He's literally staring at the ceiling, not doing anything, just tripping out. And I get up, I run to the back of the house where my mom and her boyfriend were at, and I'm pounding on the door. We got to go. We got to get out of here. The house is on fire. She doesn't believe me. I end up I don't know how I got her out of there, but I got her out of there. We get across to the neighbor's house across the street, and my house is just on fire. And I remember that night watching firefighters put out the fire at my house. And I had this overwhelming peace because I'm like, there's been nothing but nightmares in this house for the last, 3-4 years because of all the addiction that my parents were going through and all the turmoil and the trauma. And I wake up the next day, go to school, and I get called to the office, and they said, bring your backpack. And I'd been in the office a lot. I was a troublemaker. And I was always seeking attention. But CPS had been coming to school nonstop, and this was the first time they said, bring your backpack. I show up to the office. My mom's there. She just looks, strung out and going on a bender, that type of a thing. And she said, you're going to go live with your grandparents. And I'm so confused at this point. I'm like, what is going on? I go out to the parking lot. My aunt's there in her truck. It was a 2-door, very, very tiny truck. Might've been like a Ford Ranger or something. Yeah. My baby sister's in the middle seat. Our bags are packed. One-way ticket to Seattle, Washington to go live with my grandparents. And the next day I'm in a different school. My birthday, my 10th birthday is a week from that point.
Okay, so at 10 years old, at your grandparents' house, that's when you find out.
Yes.
That wasn't your mom was raped.
So no, I don't find out that truth of how I was conceived until my freshman year of high school. I found out from my mom after all of this. I went to go visit her that next summer. I was about 11 years old. And she told me, hey, Rick's not your dad. And she's bawling, she's crying, she's thinking I'm going to hate her for this news. I remember I was relieved. I was like, thank you, there's some things I can look at and say, I'm very thankful for him. I'm involved in wrestling. I help coach wrestling, and that wouldn't be in my life if he hadn't gotten me involved in it. He gave me a lot of examples of what not to do. And he was at least someone that was willing to be there as a father, despite all of the abuse and everything else, But yeah, I was relieved.
Okay, so you're now with your grandparents and you're 10.
Yes.
In Seattle.
Yes.
And did things sort of get normal from there?
Yeah, they do. It was a trip. I went from Reno. I was one of the only white kids in my neighborhood. I remember going through lots of bullying because of that. I had a guy hold a knife to my throat one time when I was a kid, just because I was white. But I go from that situation to now I'm living in Oso, Washington, which is this tiny community in the middle of nowhere. Their claim to fame is that they had this mudslide happen in 2013, I think it was. But other than that, you wouldn't even have ever heard of this town. I mean, it's a tiny, tiny population out in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. So I go from this very, very, large city to the middle of nowhere.
Okay, so
things start to normalize.
Things start to normalize. Your sister's with you.
Yes, my sister's with me.
Your grandparents are there, and okay. So then tell me, does your mom come back in the picture at all?
Yeah, so, man, you ask great questions, Pleck. So yes, this is a pretty crucial part of how I came to Jesus. The whole time I was praying. From 10 all the way up until she did come back in my life, my freshman year.
You were what, 14?
Yeah, probably 14 at the time. I'm praying this whole entire time. I wouldn't have called myself a Christian. I wouldn't have. I didn't even know what it meant to have a relationship with Christ. My only influence was from my grandma. She's Catholic, and she's like, what do they call them? Cradle Catholics, they just don't go to church that often. But she is a firm believer. And so that was it. I didn't know you could have a relationship with Christ. But I knew man, if you prayed to this God, he's going to answer your prayer. That's what I did. And I thought, if my mom could come back in my life, this hole in my heart would get filled again. Because I remember when she was sober as a kid, she was an awesome mom. She was a soccer mom. She was just great. The drugs is where everything went bad. So I just prayed, man, she can come back in my life, get off drugs, things would be good. She does. She ends up coming back into my life at 14.
Yeah.
It's like a scene out of a movie, long driveway on this country road. This random car comes down, out comes my mom. She gets dropped off all the way from Reno, Nevada, out of nowhere. And again, she looks strung out. She looks like she's been abusing drugs. You can just picture that in your head. And I'm thinking, my prayers are answered. My mom is here.
Yeah.
She quits methamphetamines cold turkey.
Wow, that's hardcore.
Insane.
That's insane.
That's insane. So I watch her go through
the withdrawal,
the sickness, everything. The whole time I'm just waiting. My mom, like this picture I had, my mom's coming back into my life. Things are going to be good. It was the complete opposite. The drugs had totally impacted her brain, dopamine levels, serotonin levels shot. She wasn't the same person, you know? And not only that, but you juxtapose that next to the fact that I'm a teenager, I've got all these hormones, and this lady wants to be my mom again and is trying to be like my mom. And I fought that. I had a lot of anger towards her, all of this. One day we get in this big argument, and it just hit me, you know, all this hurt that I had bottled up. I'm thinking, that didn't solve it. Her coming back and getting sober didn't solve it. In fact, things are worse now because she's in the picture living with my grandparents. There's a lot of conflict and tension now. It all culminated, and I remember grabbing a rope, and I went out to the woods. My grandparents had 4 acres. I go out to the woods, I tie a rope around my neck, I tie it around a branch, and I try to hang myself. And that branch broke. And I remember just sitting there on on the ground, looking up, just going like, there's got to be something better than this out there. You know, there's got to be a God out there. I remember like light shining through branches, and I'm thinking, I know that I just got saved. But I didn't have an answer for it. I didn't have anybody in my life, you know, tell me about Christ at that time. So I just thought, shoot, I give up. You know, I'm gonna go. This sounds crazy, but I'm like, I'm gonna go party. I'm gonna go pursue women. I'm gonna go pursue drugs. And I had some buddies of mine that they were already getting into pot and weed and doing all that kind of stuff and drinking and partying. And I'd been telling them no up to this point. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go do that. And it was around that same exact time that my mom told me about the truth of her getting raped and how I was conceived. We were driving with my new stepdad, and he made some sort of comment about it, and my mom was like, shh, don't say anything. And he's like, you haven't told him? And I'm like, told me what? And she goes, no, I haven't told him. And he's like, you need to tell him. And she told me right then and there in the car that you know, she was raped, and that's how I was conceived. And it was that night that I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to go smoke some weed. I'm going to go get drunk. And I got more drunk and high than I've ever been in my entire life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So then at what point is the message of the gospel come to you?
Yeah. Thank God for Jesus. Association's everything.
Yeah.
And I start getting around a different group of friends.
How? Like, how did you say, I'm not going to hang around these drug addicts anymore. I'm going to hang around Jesus people. Like, who thinks like that? I mean, how does that happen?
I can't even remember exactly how it happened, to be honest with you. It's just a school thing. I remember just, you know, I'm going into my junior year, and different classmates, and I become really good friends with a guy I'd known for a long time, but we weren't really close up until this point. And his family was a Christian family, and he wasn't yet a Christian. Ironically, he's a pastor now out in Paris, Texas.
Oh, nice.
He moved from Seattle to Paris, Texas.
What's his name? We have an audience out in Paris, Texas.
Hey, shout out to Corbin Anderson.
Corbin Anderson.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, Calvary Chapel.
All right.
So his family was just beautiful.
Yeah.
He had a similar story to me, and he was being raised by his grandparents. And I remember going over to their house and being like, this is different. This is a really cool family. They got together all the time. They went to church on Sundays. And I was like, I really, really like this. He was involved with Young Life.
Nice. That's
how I became a Christian.
Nice.
It's through Young Life.
Yeah, Young Life's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so was it like a Young Life where you go to Colorado, or was it Young Life where through the school, or what was it?
Yep. So we're up in Seattle, Washington at this time, and I'm 17. It was the summer between my junior and my senior year. I'd been going to Young Life now pretty consistently for a year, but had not gone to their camp during the summer.
Nice.
The summer before I'd missed out on. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to go. This summer, the leader went up to me and he's like, hey, look, someone paid for you. You got a scholarship and you're going.
Wow.
And he said, it's going to be the best week of your life.
What year was that?
This was 2010.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay. So you go to Young Life.
Yes. I go to this camp up in, what was it? British Columbia, up in Canada. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's called Malibu.
Oh, wow.
It's on the Princess Louise Inlet in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful. You got to take like 3 buses and 3 ferries to get there. It's insane. So I go and I'm thinking, this is going to suck. I'm on this trip with all these Christian kids. I thought they were all Christian. I found out, later that they weren't. I'm like, this is going to suck. But I hear the story of the prodigal son. And I'm sitting in front of a pastor. He's telling the story, and it's just like this scene right here on this. We've got the stage here. We've got your auditorium here. I'm sitting like somewhere over by that pole. Basically, I'm off in the distance.
Yeah.
And he starts telling the story of the prodigal son, and I'm listening, going, "What's going to happen to this son?" He goes off and he has this crazy adventure, squanders all of his wealth, tells his dad, "F you, I'm out of here. I'm gone." And I'm thinking, I can relate to that right now. I'm kind of doing the same thing. But I had felt this tug from Jesus by going to Young Life, and I'm like, maybe this Jesus thing is right. Well, it was in this story that I realized that I could have a relationship with Jesus, because as I'm listening to the son going back to his dad, I'm relating it to my relationship with my stepfather growing up. And if I did the wrong thing, I got beat for it.
Right.
I'm thinking, this son's going to get beat. His dad's going to show him what's up. And this is going to be a bad situation. That's the last place you should go if you're in trouble. And then I hear the dad runs to him with open arms and embraces his son with joy and throws a big party. And I'm thinking, this is insane. And it clicked right then and there. And I could hear God tell me, that's what I want to be to you. Wow. I want to be your father. I want you to be my son.
That's powerful.
And I was a kid over there just like bawling, man, like demons coming out, just like hurt coming out, all this bottled up hurt. And I remember the guy that was talking, he like made eye contact with me, and I could tell he was like, what is happening to that kid over there right now? And that day I gave my life to Christ.
Okay, that's exciting. Okay, so you give your life to Christ at 17. Do you head back to Seattle and like everything's, different? Like you tell your mom, what do you do?
Yeah. I kind of left something out of the story here. So just before I go off to this Young Life camp, I'd actually, I was homeless.
What do you mean by homeless?
So my sophomore year, so freshman year, mom comes in the picture. She ends up getting custody of me. Don't ask me how that happened, but she did. And she's with my new stepdad now and my little brother. And so they have a lot of conflict with my grandparents. They end up leaving and they go into a homeless shelter and they take me with them. So my sophomore year, I'm living in a homeless shelter.
So could you not stay with your grandparents?
I don't know how I didn't end up staying with them. There was conflict that they had, and I just ended up going with them. It was like they told me one side of the story. I didn't hear my grandpa's side of the story at the time, and they were like, you just got to come with us. And they just took me, and away I went. So I'm living in this homeless shelter for a period of time during my sophomore year. Going into my junior year, they end up getting into Section 8 housing, transitional housing. And it was that summer, right before I go off to camp, that I find my mom's drug stash. She got back on drugs. She relapsed. I took a picture on a little flip phone that I had, printed it off, and I wrote on the back of this picture, I'm leaving. Don't call the cops. If you do, I've got this picture on my phone and I'll show them what's going on. And I packed up my stuff in a plastic garbage bag and I left. I took a bus. I went from Everett, Washington to Arlington, Washington, where I was going to school. And my friend picked me up and I spent that summer at my friend's house. And that was that same friend that took me to the Young Life camp.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So I come back from camp. That was your question. And I become a student leader. At this time, I'm now living with a different friend of mine. His dad becomes like a dad to me. In fact, I talked to him today. Shout out to Dale Shipman. I lived there my senior year and finished out my senior year there. And they just so happened to be next door neighbors to my wife, Brittany.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you are 17 when you meet your wife.
Yes.
And then is she your same age? Or is she like
1 year younger?
Younger. Okay, so she was, I guess, a sophomore and you were a junior. You were a senior, she's a junior.
Yeah, I'm going into my senior year at this time and she's a junior.
Okay, so then you guys start dating then?
Yes.
Okay, and then when do you guys get married?
We got married, we were in college. This was 2014. So I was a junior in college and she was a sophomore.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, and so you guys get married and then was she a believer her whole life kind of thing, or what was her story?
Yes. So she's been a believer her whole life. Both of her parents are Christian. She was raised in a Christian home. And she started coming to Young Life Club. That's how we ended up connecting.
Oh, cool.
I hate telling this part of the story, but it's the truth. I originally met her when I was 16, but I was dating a different girl, and this was before I was a Christian. Yes, and she was witnessing to this girl that I was dating, and I remember meeting her for the first time, Brittany, and I shook her hand, and you've met her. She's just got this way about her.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm in love with this girl. And I remember thinking, I wish I was a good enough person to date somebody like this.
Oh, that's cool.
And then a year later, I became a Christian, turned everything around, stopped doing drugs, stopped partying, became a student leader. She starts coming to Young Life Club. And I'm like, there's that girl again. And we became friends at first. I asked her to prom. And she said yes, which was surprising. She had a lot of guys asking her. I don't know why she chose to go with me. She thought I'd be fun is what she said. And I remember thinking, I want to marry this girl. And I heard God's voice tell me, like, that's going to be your wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you marry her. Like, how have you, like, with your mom, like, did she alive? Did she pass? Like, what happened?
Yeah. So she ended up moving to Mammoth, Arizona years ago. Mammoth is like in the middle of nowhere outside of Tucson, like an hour and a half outside of Tucson, middle of the desert. It's a small little blimp on the radar. She's been there ever since. I think she's doing a lot better. I don't talk to her as much as I used to. There's nothing strained between us. I love her, and I know that, deep down she really loves me. But it's just not a relationship that I've kept up with.
That's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard, and I felt challenged about that because you had talked recently on the one of your podcasts, your other podcast, about honoring your mother and your father. Yeah, and so I've been really wrestling with that a lot.
Oh, it's so hard to wrestle with, especially when there's so much pain and hurt and just all of that. To not have bitterness sort of sink in and to really honor and love your mom. I always say this: forgiveness is given, trust is earned, and so you can give forgiveness, but the trust to have your mom have access to your kids, that takes, she doesn't have that trust.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
But that's the part where, allowing the Lord to work and redeem the years the locusts have stolen kind of thing. Okay. So talk to me now about what it's like for you how many kids do you have now?
2.
And so you have 2 kids. And tell me what it's like to, without having a background of knowing what you're supposed to do as a dad. You didn't see it.
Yeah.
You didn't experience, like, this is what dads do. They lead devotionals, or they play guitar and sing Christian songs, or like, without that experience, what have you, because I think you're not alone in this. I think a lot of men, they get saved. They don't have a background of, how do I raise a family to follow the Lord? What are you doing? And if you don't have an answer to this, that's totally okay. What are you doing now to sort of lead your family towards Christ? And maybe that's partly, I'm leading the church, which is huge. But and how old are your kids? And what are you doing to kind of train them to fall in love with Jesus without having the crazy story that you have?
Yeah. My kids love Jesus. Yeah. Like, if they were right here, they'd tell you all about Jesus.
That's awesome.
I remember we played a game recently. We were just kind of role playing, goofing around, and I was this principal that they told me this whole story. Like, you got to be this bad principal, and Jackson's going to be the new kid in school, and Peyton's the teacher, so she brings him into the office, and I'm acting like this mean principal. Well, off script, he stops and he goes, do you know who Jesus is?
Oh,
he starts telling me about the gospel, and then
cool.
I find Jesus and become this nice principal. So my kids love Jesus.
That's great.
And I wish I could give anyone who's listening to this.
Like, how did you reproduce that? How did you produce that? Like, what did you do?
Oh, God is good, Plek. God is good. That's all I can say. Intentionality. I think your example's everything. And I've always studied those that I want to exemplify and be like. And I've had, outside of God, I think I've had the blessing of having good men in my life that I've been able to go, you know what, I want to take a little bit from you and a little bit from you and a little bit from you.
Give me one of those things that, like, one of the men in your life, maybe it's Dale Shipman. Like, you look back, one thing that he said or did or whatever, and then you don't even, maybe not even until you think of it now, like, I do this because I saw him do that.
Dale Shipman, how he treats people, how he carries himself. He's always giving.
Yeah.
Ironically, a lot of the men I had in my life, they weren't ever strong Christian men. It's the weirdest thing. Okay. But, as I'm journeying this, this journey with Christ and trying to be a man after his heart, like God throws these men in my life and gave me great examples from them. So Dale's one of them, and how he treats other people, how he loved his kids unconditionally. There's a lot of Christ-like characteristics that man has. Keith Dumm. What a great last name.
Dumb.
Yes.
D-U-M-B.
Yes. D-U-M-M, but
okay.
yes.
D-U-M-M. That's might as well be. You can just imagine his life in school. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. This guy, again, not a strong Christian. He actually died recently, but lived an amazing life. He was an older man. He was my first boss I ever had. He owned a landscaping company.
Yeah.
And this guy was a character. We were working out in Bill Gates' neighborhood, landscaping out there. That was one of my jobs in college.
Wow.
And he would come and pick me up every single morning in his van, and we'd sit in Seattle traffic, which is crazy. And for an hour and a half in the morning, hour and a half in the evening, I would just learn from this guy. And he had tons and tons of wisdom. He had a lightheartedness about him. He treated people amazing. And so I learned from these guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. Is there anything specifically that you do now as a dad to invest in your kids? Like for them to know anything about Jesus means you had to have an intentionality. Was that like you sent them to Christian school? What is that?
They've always, again, it's your example. And your example...
Like you're telling them about Jesus clearly because they're wanting to evangelize to the bad principle. So like what is that?
I don't think that an example comes from necessarily the words that you speak as much as your actions and what they can see. And so just even showing up to church and making that a priority, I think that's a huge first step. They've always been involved with things at church, whether it was Awana or Kids Club or what have you. The Bible's the center in our home. We do consistent Bible reading together.
Good. So talk to me about that. How do you what Bible are you reading and what plan are you following? What are you doing?
I wish I could say we're following a plan.
But we just open it up. We kind of read.
We open it up and we start reading. And very similar to how we do it in our men's group.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Nice.
Open up the Bible. We're going through Proverbs. And so it's like we're reading a chapter a day to keep the devil away. Shout out to Chapter a Day. That is literally one of the best podcasts ever. I listen to that every single day. So I follow that same format. It's just a chapter a day with the kids. We go through it and most days they probably hate it, but I think deep down they love it. And I say they hate it because I'll wake them up at 7 o'clock in the morning and get them out of bed, and we're opening up the Bible and we're reading together. And then hey Jackson, what'd you get out of that? Dad, I'm still open up my eyes, that kind of a thing. But
and you guys are homeschooling.
Yes. Well, Brittany's homeschooling.
Right, of course.
I'm the substitute teacher every once in a while.
And the principal.
Yeah, and the principal. That's right.
Okay, so talk to me about that decision. Give me like your thoughts. Yeah.
I never thought we were going to homeschool. I think it's made all the difference.
Because clearly you have godly kids.
Thank you.
And clearly your wife has had something to do with that.
Absolutely. She's been a huge influence. I think they see our relationship too, and that speaks volumes. So as far as homeschool goes, I never thought I'd homeschool our kids. Brittany was in violent opposition to it.
Really?
Oh yeah. Growing up, when I'd always talked about having kids and when that was going to happen, that was the last thing on our list. We wanted to put them in private school.
Right.
And we did that. When we moved to Texas, we put them in a private school.
Which one did you go to?
I won't say because we had a bad experience.
Okay, fair enough.
Bad experience kind of turned into a weird scam.
Okay.
So I won't shout out that name. But because of that bad experience, we're like, let's try homeschooling. And we got into...
Was it during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Because everybody gave homeschooling a shot
absolutely. At that point. You're baking bread and you're homeschooling kids. You become a sourdough expert.
Every woman now is a sourdough expert.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. And so we picked up, I think it's called The Bold and the Beautiful. I think that's what it's called. It's an amazing curriculum.
Nice.
And it's very easy to follow and it's fun.
Yeah.
I go through it. I'm like, this is more fun than school. This is crazy. But they teach them amazing things. It's a Christian curriculum.
Nice.
So they just glean a lot from it from a Christian perspective.
Okay, and then how socialization? Your kids play sports.
Yes.
Is that what they're?
Yep. Yep. So that's kind of the homeschool stigma, right? It's like, how are you going to socialize your kids? We are a busy family. We're always doing stuff, and we're always with people. So they're constantly around people. Both of them play baseball and softball.
Oh, fun.
And they're really darn good at it. That's their sport. They love it. And then I make them wrestle. They would probably choose not to, although Jackson, he's starting to fall in love with it. But I make them do that just to have discipline and grittiness.
And where do you guys go train for wrestling?
Yeah. Shout out to Nick Janowitz, Patriot MMA. That's where we go. I volunteer there as a coach.
Oh, fun.
And the kids go there.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So now talk to me about like just a vision for your family now, like with the past that you've experienced and the brokenness that you've experienced. Is there any part of you that says like, ministry wise, I want to speak into some teenagers' lives, or speak into kids' lives, or speak into addicts' lives, children of addicts? I mean, like, have you ever thought like through like the unbelievable untapped resource that you are for the amount of people out there that are just in crazy situations?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And I appreciate you even giving me a platform, Plek, and thinking so much about my story. I would love for God to use me wherever he wants to use me, and I don't know what that looks like. I have a heart for students. I had thought for a long time I'd be involved with Young Life. If you would have asked me, 10 years ago where I thought I'd be at, I thought I'd be probably involved in something like that at this point. Or I'd even thought about being a pastor when I was in college. Life just kind of took a different turn. But I'm at a season now where I'm definitely looking for it. I'm definitely wanting to get more involved.
All right, there might be recruitment involved shortly after this podcast.
Well, you did tell me about solving the homeless crisis, and that's been constantly on my mind.
Oh yeah, just in case anyone was wondering, I had this weird. It was just weird. So, and I told you about it. I don't know if this is the podcast to share about, but here I are. About a month ago, I had this dream. And the dream was, I was like, I was messing with my ear, and all of a sudden earwax started pouring out. Like, I don't know how earwax can pour out, but it was like all over the place, and it was gross and orange and yellowy. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of earwax. I'm so glad that's out of there. And I wake up. That was a dream. And normally you just go, weird dream, and I'd forget it. But the problem was I kept thinking about the dream. And it's like, why do I keep thinking about this dream? I was like, I don't know, maybe that means that, my ears need to be cleared out to hear something from the Lord. And then last Wednesday, so it was a week ago, I have this, I wake up in the morning and it's like a louder than audible, I didn't hear a voice, but just like, it was just solve the homeless crisis. Now,
solve the homeless crisis.
I don't know what that means. I just was like, what a weird thing. And then of course that morning in my quiet time, it was, the woman at Simon the leper's house, and she starts anointing Jesus's feet. And then Judas gets angry. He's like, this could have been used for all the poor. And Jesus is like, hey, don't mess with this woman. What she's done is a beautiful thing to me. You'll always have the poor among you. And I was like, what does this mean? And so that's why I thrust it upon you.
Yeah.
And so there you go. You might have to do, I don't know. I'm just now just like telling people, so waiting for the next step of solving the homeless crisis, if that indeed is what I'm supposed to do. It was just very strange. It could have been just I had pizza the night before and it just kind of hit me.
Could have been.
Who knows?
Nonetheless,
at this point, I'm open to the next step. So if anybody has a plan for the solve the homeless crisis, and people keep saying maybe it's like solving the spiritually homeless crisis, I'm like, okay, here, come to church.
Take it.
Yeah,
take it.
Yeah. So I don't know. All that to say, I feel like the Lord has great plans for you, and I can't wait to see what
Thank you, Chris.
That will look like as we move forward, getting to know each other. And I'm just really grateful you've been at our church, and really looking forward to the ministry that you and Brittany collectively have, because of the vibrance you guys bring.
Thank you.
Wherever you go, it's just
Thank
awesome.
you.
So
I would say, to go back to your question, probably one of my main focuses right now in my heart is just bringing more people to this church.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, that's a win.
This is an incredible church. And I've got a list on my phone of like when I meet a new person, if I can invite them here, I do. And if they don't come, I keep them on the list, and I pray for them, and I reach out to them weekly to either try to get them to the men's group or to try to show up on Sundays. And so that's like my main mission right now, outside of raising kids.
All right, now let's talk this 1 sec. I want this is gonna pass around to someone's gonna get this podcast, and either it's a mom who is strung out in drugs. I think they're complete failures. They're just like, I ruined my kid's life. What challenge, what encouragement could you give to a mom like that?
I think if anyone is listening to this and is in that situation, I'd want you to hear God's voice. I'd want you to hear Jesus telling you right now that I love you, I'm proud of you, and you are mine. I think that's where it starts.
Yeah, that's good.
And if they are in that situation and you are a mom that's struggling with that, or maybe you've been on the tail end of it, healing doesn't happen overnight, but man, you would be amazed at what Christ can do in your life. And that's where healing starts. Okay.
Then on the flip side, what about a young man just feeling abandoned by parents? What advice, what challenge would you give him?
I tell him the same thing. But I would tell him it's going to be all right. I tell him, there's great people around you that really want to help you out. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be vulnerable, and you are loved, and you can get through it, and you've got a bright future ahead of you. You've got an amazing opportunity to turn things around for your family and to change a legacy.
Yeah.
Your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids never have to go through what you went through if you make the right decisions and get around the right people.
That's awesome, bro. Man, that's encouraging. Can't wait to hear how this story continues to unfold. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you got any questions, you can text us at 737-231-0605. We'd love to hear from you. We can bring Matt Badgley back at some point and be like, tell us a follow-up on like how you're continuing to transform the world. We'd love to hear from you as we talk faith, culture, and everything in between. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. But until then, have an awesome week of worship.